Okay, we should be on. Thank you for joining me. Have a sip of coffee. I want to share with you 3 reasons why you're overworking your art and how to fix that. Okay, so let's get to it. What is overwork, people? And by the way, this is matching my shirt just by accident. I don't know why it's here. It's a pair of pants. So, what is overwork? What is overwork when it comes to art? There's a lot of messiness around people's understanding of what overwork means, especially in the world of watercolor painting. There is a good reason for that. We don't have to go into it, but because watercolor is kind of like a highway and everything happens on shorter time frames, it's easier to see the overwork. But let's explain. In my opinion, the simplest definition of overwork is moving past the ideal point of stopping a painting. Let me turn on the fan, it's hot. Okay. So, moving past the perfect ideal point of stopping the painting, right when the details are just perfect, when the impression is just there. And here's the test you can make, and you'll know. Just whatever painting you're working on, finish your painting session, forget about it, set it aside. Wake up the next day and ask yourself, will just someone viewing this for the first time enjoy it? Will they like it? And do I feel like my vision is coming through? If the answers are yes, the painting's probably done. You can add a couple more details if you want to, but honestly, it's not really a question of when is the ideal objective moment to stop. It's kind of a decision you make. And if you feel like it's pretty much done, the decision is to finish it, okay? So let's talk about the reasons. There are 3 main ones that I am recognizing with my students, and I will say they kind of support each other, which isn't good for us, right? That's like a bunch of unhealthy stuff supporting each other. Number 1 is going to be perfectionism, and that is you place something on paper or on the canvas, you paint. It could be relevant for sculpting, for anything, just about anything. And because you have this feeling that you've learned with time, your life, you throughout the school system and your life, you learn there is a way that is correct of doing things. You get a grade. If you've done a good job, you'll get a good grade. There is no ambiguity. There is no finding your own path. There is no exploration. There's just right, wrong. Here's the path. You missed it here. You missed the path there. It's all BS. And all of this leads to perfectionism. I want to find just the right thing for every stage of the artwork I'm working on. But guess what? There isn't. There is no such thing. You put a detail on paper and that's that. And you move on with your life. Now, you could fix it, organize it, improve it if that's what your vision calls for. The problem is that for many people, their vision, their real authentic feeling about what they just put on paper is like, it'll be fine. But this voice is like this small and it's drowned by everything else. Okay? The world drowns your voice. Everything drowns your voice. Society, culture, school, parents, teachers, friends, content you watch, everything drowns your own voice. So practicing some isolation is pretty wise in my humble opinion. Now, it can be compartmentalized isolation, just saying you don't have to isolate yourself from everyone else, but, noticing what you consume and being very mindful of that, and being very selective of that, who you listen to, myself included. You have to be selective. You have to figure out, does this actually make sense for me or not? So, perfectionism, that idea that there is a right way, and I'm going to find it right now, and if something's even a little off, I'm going to continue fixing and changing and removing until I moved past the ideal point because I was so obsessed with what's the right thing that I completely missed what's going on my canvas. I could notice that, wow, this is actually a really nice brush stroke. It works with my vision. I could actually make it better than what I was first imagining, right? How about that? How about moving past your vision because your instincts and intuition in the moment serve you right? Okay, so I would say the first reason is perfectionism, and to that, I will say the solution is isolation. Just, you don't have to listen to other voices. You don't have to listen to what you've been taught your entire life. Now, it's not an easy thing to do necessarily, right? And I will say this. How does this idea jive with you? Do you feel when I say this? Am I judging just your authentic feeling of wanting your artwork to be the best? If that's what you feel, then it's probably not perfectionism we're talking about. It's probably your authentic visual desire. But if you're constantly second guessing yourself and in thinking to yourself, whatever I put on paper, I can't just put something on paper. It has to be perfect right now. No delayed gratification, nothing, no overall context, no following my intuition and instinct and experience and skill, none of that, right? I'll have to obsess over it right now. If that's you, maybe this idea will seep in and help. Just listening to this idea, having it somewhere in the back of your mind might create a change starting from now, right this second. Okay? First reason is perfectionism. I don't have the perfect solutions, notice. I'm just sharing my thoughts with you. Second one, that happens even before you put a mark, and that is hesitation. Now, hesitation kills fun. No matter what it is you're doing, hesitation destroys the fun of it. That's just how life is. If you want to say something, but you hesitate, you're like, ooh, am I going to hurt some feelings? Am I going to, how will this be interpreted? The message is diluted, where ironically, if you just say what you want, in most cases, as long as you're kind of a normal person, if you just say what you want, it would probably be interpreted the way you wanted it to be interpreted. Probably people won't get hurt. Probably a nuance will be conveyed. Again, I have to put disclaimers because everyone's watching these videos, right? As long as you're kind of a normal person, usually if you say the thing you actually want to say, it's not going to veer too much from society's norms, right? Which is also not really a good thing necessarily. Maybe you want to veer away from normal. Maybe you don't want average, right? But whatever, that's a point for a different video. Hesitation kills fun. Hesitation kills a result that could have been perfect from the beginning. So you don't even need perfectionism if you have no hesitation. If you paint, and the best solution to solve this is to listen to what I'm saying and see if it meshes well with you. Once again, if you have no hesitation, I'm not saying you should have no hesitation. If in this scenario, this weird scenario where you don't hesitate, what ironically is going to happen once again is the mark you put to paper will be perfect. The next mark will be perfect. The one after that will be perfect. And even if it won't be perfect, it will be perfect because your instinct and gut will inspire and compel you to make it perfect immediately. That's how, if you remember a time when you painted something that just turned out wonderful, amazing, perfect, loose, fun, free. A lot of my viewers is watercolor for them. So watercolor has this very, very sensitive nature that if you have hesitation, it's even more noticeable. You can't really cover it up that well. Okay. Now, take everything I'm saying with a grain of salt because hesitation can also be positive. When our ancestors saw a cliff and they hesitated, that was a good thing. When they wanted to go out into the jungle and they heard a roar or like a wild animal that sounded dangerous, hesitation helped them. If they saw a frog that is super neon colored and very sparkly and nice looking, someone just touched it and boom, they're out of gene pool. So hesitation served us historically. And that's why evolution has selected for some level of hesitation. However, what good does hesitation do when we're talking about art, creativity, freedom of expression? Probably, often zero, just doesn't do anything good. Maybe in some cases it can serve you. I'm never talking about a healthy dose of or your personal perfect balance. I'm talking about if you feel that you're judging yourself and kind of not letting yourself to do things because of said hesitation. In that case, you want to look at that hesitation and figure out, what's going on here? Why do I hesitate? And maybe as an experiment, you grab a piece of paper and some paints and you decide for just this painting, this sketch, I'm not going to hesitate. Just as a very contained experiment. And let's see what happens. What would happen then? What would happen if you don't hesitate? Very interesting. And it's okay to do that. And it's okay to feel perfectly free because it's one time. It's a one-time thing. It's a one-time experiment, Your next painting, be as hesitant as you want. Experimentation is key. All of it. That's what I discovered over the years. I've been doing this for over a decade. Hesitation is a part of it. But the thing is, if you have your intuition, if you have your instinct, and you just allow the artistic vision to come out, that's what it's all about. And Experimentation is how you facilitate that often, because you experiment and you experience once for the first time something you've never experienced. Guess what? It's in your bank. You will never lose it. It's there. And the next time you do something, your brain will automatically refer to it. Okay? A lot of what you're doing on a day-to-day basis isn't like thought, prefrontal cortex, very logical. A lot of it is emotional. A lot of it is instinct. When you start muddying the water with unnecessary things, it hurts the result. You can bet that it will hurt the artistic result. So that is reason number 2, hesitation, and its solution. Now let's talk about the third reason. That is the most straightforward one, so I kept it for last. And that is technical weakness, technical incompetence. Everyone's incompetent. I'm incompetent. You're incompetent. The best artists you know are incompetent. They just are incompetent in fewer things. They've made more mistakes. They've made more experiments. They've made more discoveries than you and I. I've made more discoveries and more experiments than many of you, and I made more mistakes than you that led me on my path. Okay, so what do you do with a technical weakness? Things are simple. Life is simple. The only thing you can do is just work on the technical stuff. And just work on them. Just focus on them. Just decide, you know what? I'm going to grab once again my canvas and just focus on the thing I'm weak at. Are you really bad at seeing the colors clearly? Do you always fall into illusions and you can't tell what color you're seeing? Work on just that. Dedicate yourself. I'm going to take that sip. I've been delaying it forever. Dedicate yourself to just that. You like my mug, by the way? You dedicate yourself just to color matching. Do you feel like your realism sucks? It just doesn't look realistic. Well, let's switch things over. Let's do black and white. And let's see, what am I missing? Am I constantly painting things too dark, too light? And start that feedback loop. That feedback loop will be your greatest gift for technical improvements, okay? Because technical, yes, it is a part of painting. You know, you learn how to use the medium. You learn how to match colors. You learn how light and shadow works. You learn how shapes work, how composition works, what compositions are satisfying, what compositions aren't as satisfying, right? One thing you want to do is get a strong feedback loop going. If you have the ability to do that for yourself, that is perfect, and I do teach that occasionally. Or if you need another pair of eyes, then you might want to consider doing that. You can, by the way, use me for that. I offer a service of giving you feedback on your paintings. I'll put a link below. Feel free to check it out. Or, even better, you can become a member of the Watercolor Breakthrough Club, mostly relevant to watercolor painters, but honestly, we could use some oil painters and acrylic painters. It's fine. It's great. Where you get feedback from me on a monthly basis on your paintings. Personal feedback, just for you, not group, none of that. And you get access to a community, and you get access to weekly live streams, so you become a part of something that helps keep you accountable, propel you forward, and always have you that feedback loop always going. That feeling that you finish the painting and you know exactly that the next one's going to be better. You know exactly why. You have that feeling viscerally in you. Oh man, I learned so much from this one. The next one's going to be better. And the next one's going to be better. That is a wonderful feeling. I've had that a lot in my first 3 years in watercolor painting. Every painting, I felt like I learned so much. Now it's more nuanced work, but back then, I learned so much from every painting. And I was so eager to do the next one because I knew that it's going to be better. If you want that feeling, if you seek that feeling and you really want to stop BSing yourself and just know your art is improving, that's how you do that, okay? So just work on stuff. Don't overcomplicate things. Just let your instinct guide you because that's the only thing you have. Let it guide you in how to improve that skill. Improve it, and with time, it will become part of your lived experience, and it will no longer bug you and interrupt and intrude your painting processes because that shape you'll put will be perfect right at the beginning. That color you match will be accurate. That wash you do with water and paint will look good. Technically, you'll get it right the first time. And guess what? Getting it right the first time, no perfectionism, no hesitation, perfect artwork. Okay? So these were the 3 reasons you're overworking your paintings. Overwork can be interpreted in many different ways. Once again, use the KISS system. Keep it simple. Okay? Not going to say the last word because I don't think you're stupid. Keep it simple. Okay? Just what's the simple solution here? What is the simplest solution in here? Break it down, work on it. If you don't inspire yourself to do it, no one else will. So I'm not saying this to inspire you, by the way. You either have it or you don't. Some things you either have or you don't. I just think most people have that in them. It's just been buried under years of crap. So, with that, go forth and prosper. Go ahead, attack your art, and most importantly, let me know in a comment down below if this was useful, which one of these you feel like plagues you the most, and plagued in past tense. Which one of these has given you, up to this point, the most trouble? Because from this point on, it's no longer going to. And by the way, how you talk to yourself matters. How you speak to yourself in your own head and outside, externally, matters. So which of these has plagued you the most so far and is totally gonna stop plaguing you now because you have the simplest solution to solve it? Which one? Hopefully that was useful. Thank you so much. Thank you to everyone who supports me over on Patreon. If you want to receive credits at the end of the videos, do check that out. I'm going to put a link below to Watercolor Wisdom to get your paintings critiqued, and the Watercolor Breakthrough Club to become a member. Become a member, do something interesting, invest in yourself, always the right move. Thank you so much. We'll see you in the next vid. Take care.